Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy you came back. So let's just get right into it because, you know, we all go through our fair share of things, but when you're actually in it, you don't really realize that you are in a position of God propelling you forward towards something better, right? And I had to realize that it came over me the other day like, wow, you were put in situations where God was actually planting something in you to succeed and bear fruit in, but you did nothing with it. You allowed the enemy, Alicia, to take over, and you allowed the enemy, Alicia, to kill, steal, and destroy. And that's exactly what I allowed the enemy to do. And I can honestly sit back and say today that, I'm thankful that I went through it all. However, it's just like, I wasted a lot of time. You waste so much time. So there was a point in my life where I would say about 7 years ago, I got fired from my 9 to 5. And I was let go. They let me go. They fired me. If you're getting let go from your job, you're getting fired, okay? So I worked at this company for 7 years. I gave this company 7 years of my life, and I'm thankful for all the experience that I gained under that job, but I gave them my all for what it was at that time. Looking back, it could have been more, but they fired me. They let me go because they said that the business was slow, and basically that there wasn't no business. And I could agree because Uber and Lyft came out and it completely wiped out taxi companies. So I was let go from my job of 7 years. And being let go of my job for 7 years, I had two children, one that just came, because this is how it happened. I was on maternity leave. I was on maternity leave. And when I came back from maternity leave, they said, Alicia, we got to let you go. So I have a fresh baby. I'm not on good terms with the father. We're together, but we're just not on the same page. Not one bit. And I was the one who was making most of the bank. And to be told, we're letting you go, I was just like, wow, all right. Okay. And they kind of set me up. I should have knew something was wrong. I should have knew I may had not come back to a job because during my maternity leave, they allowed me to apply for unemployment. And then when they let me go, I only had a few months more of employment that I could actually, be granted, because during that whole time I was already on unemployment because they didn't have maternity leave. So, I mean, we were good for, some months, but at the same time, I knew I had to find another job. And at that same time, I was still trying to find myself and heal from this second baby that I just popped out. Like, I didn't even heal from the first baby I popped out. I went through undiagnosed postpartum, and it was terrible. And it was terrible. It was a terrible experience. And I was having my second one, and it started off with me being let go from my job. So, it was a lot. It was a lot. And I was really dealing with it from a point from a position of aloneness. Like, I was dealing with it alone. Like, I wasn't really telling nobody about like how I was feeling. I was feeling like nobody would understand. I was like feeling like people wouldn't hear me even if I said it to them in their ear. Like, I just wholeheartedly felt like I would be rejected. And that's one of the things that I struggle with most of my life, that spirit of rejection. To make the long story short, I searched high and low for a job, right? And I found a job that I had to actually let go of because there wasn't no one to watch the children. Me and the kid's father at that time, our schedules wasn't, lining up properly to where, he'll be home with the kids. So initially, I couldn't accept certain jobs because of it. And, at that time, we didn't have money for a daycare. We didn't have any type of resource to find daycare grants or anything like that. So, I just was like, okay, so that's not going to work. I started driving for UPS for a short amount of time. That didn't work. UPS was super funny. Quick story. So, what's the problem with women working for UPS? Why can't women drive a UPS truck? Like, I drove that big brown truck, but I'm just saying, like, quick story time. On the day, like my training day, I was with my trainer, and we were going in to deliver a package, and the business owner was like, "Oh, I see you have your Christmas helper, your holiday helper with you." And he looked at that man like, "Nah, she a driver." And he was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yes, really." Like, like I got on a brown, I got on my browns. Hey, but no, seriously. So I definitely did UPS for a little while, y'all. It was not for me. It wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. But I enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed, accomplishing that the truck. It was a big truck. To make this long story longer, I came to the conclusion like, Alicia, you have to work from home. This is the only way you'll be able to tend to these children and make some money. So now I'm on a hunt for work from home jobs. I'm filling out this, I'm filling out that, I'm looking up this, I'm looking up that, and I could not find a work from home job to save my life, y'all. I could not find one. Only work from home jobs was the jobs that you don't want to do. So I couldn't find any legitimate work from home jobs. And then one day I came across this live streaming app, and I saw that, okay, they can pay you. And I'm like, okay, let me check this out. So I went ahead and I checked out this live streaming app. Now, mind you, I never been afraid of the camera or shy in front of the camera because back in the day, in my young tender ages, I used to model. Okay. And I stopped modeling after I had my first son, and well, my first child. And I stopped because not only I had a lot of different bad experiences in the modeling industry. We're not even going to go there, but they were fake gigs, things like that. It was terrible. But also because they were directing me into the direction of a vixen type model. And I said, no, I don't want to be a vixen model. But that was the direction, everyone was pointing me into. Like I was being pulled to that direction, and that wasn't what I wanted when I see myself as a model. So I just completely stopped it. So getting on camera, it wasn't something that I was afraid of. More so, it was me just talking and speaking because I was always like a quiet person, and I only really talked and got comfortable with people that I already knew. So talking to people that I didn't know, or in front of a audience, it was a little nerve wracking to me at one point in my life. So I found this live streaming app, and I was like, okay, Leash, what we gonna do? What we gonna do? And I'm like, what would I talk about? So one day I just went ahead and I went live, and I went live on a black screen, y'all. I was scared to death. I'm not like saying that scared to death word, but I was scared. I was scared. I was fearful of my life. And I went live in the dark, and people were joining in, and they were talking to me. I'm like, y'all talking to me in the dark? Like y'all still want to be here in this live stream? I'm like, okay, so maybe this is something that I can do. So the next day I went in and I turned the camera on and I said, I'm here, right? So I showed up. I started going live. I started going live like every single day because I didn't have no job. I had nothing else to do but go live at this point in my life, right? So I was going live, and I actually grew a following on this live stream ad. which then in turn grew into me getting offers from the app to come out to events and do certain things with them, and to eventually being verified on the app. And now I had this big following. A lot of people knew who I was. We were doing so many different things on this app. They ended up paying me that coin, y'all. The coin was in the picture. I'm like, yes, this is it. This is my moment. Mind you, this is in 2016. So about roughly about 7 years ago. And I'm just like, I'm loving it. I'm just doing this, and I met so many different people. It was a lot of kiddos that was on the app at that time, so they were so cute. They were so cute. I miss my kiddos. And I was their mom. And they were my daughters and my sons, okay? But it was such a beautiful atmosphere that I created for my community. We would play games together and stuff like that. But there was something that happened where the enemy came in and just took it from me. And that was an opportunity for me to grow into something where God wanted to propel me in when it came to showing up live, helping people, using my voice, etc., etc. And a certain situation happened on that app that allowed me to doubt myself. I allowed fear to come in. So I don't really want to get into too much detail of what happened, but let's just say that time my partner got involved with that same live streaming application, and basically was doing things on there where people were coming back and telling me about it, and it wasn't good things, y'all. And it initially made me go into this shell, right? Because you got to remember, I was really popular on the app. People started talking, and I didn't handle it the right way. What I did was I went back into this shell, and I basically allowed fear to take over the situation, and it made me stop going live. I stopped going live. I stopped showing up as much, and there was no money. And at the same time, like, I fumbled my gift. And it's important to know that when I fumbled my gift, I was actually fumbling the seed that God planted in me for it to grow into something. It was something that I was supposed to continue on to keep doing with that, but I completely stopped it, and I ended up right back at another 9 to 5, which is a work from home position where I'm currently at now. And it's been another almost 7 years that I've been here. So I'm in a season right now where I feel like I'm repeating, something's repeating in my life, right? My advice to you today, ladies, don't allow anybody to allow you to drop or fumble your gift. Don't allow anybody to allow you to feel less than, or feel embarrassed, or feel that you'll be judged. There was so much wrong during that time when I did stop live streaming and showing up. Like, I was directionless. Like, I didn't really know what I had wanted to, like, what I wanted to cultivate from the situation. So I didn't have a system. I didn't have any guidance. So initially I ended up fumbling my gift. I fumbled the opportunity of me actually exceeding in an area of my life where I could have reached and touched a lot of different people in a way that glorified God. But it was so much more that I had to learn. That was 7 years ago. Like, I wasn't even born again during that time. So I ended up, I fumbled it, and I ended up going back to work for a company, which I'm actually still work at, which is, all fine and dandy, which is why I'm coined the 9 to 5preneur mom, because I am that mom who still works the 9 to 5, that is a mother, And that's also, building a business, a kingdom business, to help other mothers, to help other single mothers, create that balance. So I'm just going to leave you with one thing. There's one thing that I want you to take from this video. If you don't take anything else, take this. When change happens in your life, God will move things around in an instant. You may not understand why, but everything happens for a reason. So there was a reason you were let go from that job, right? There was a reason that that relationship didn't work out. There was a reason why you didn't go to school that day. Everything happens for a reason. And most times we don't know right away. We won't know that reason right away. And we just have to trust the process and trust God during that process, because God has a bigger purpose over your life. God has a plan over your life that you may not even be well aware of. But when God is ready for you to move, change will happen. So learn to embrace. I want you to learn to embrace change with a joyful heart. Expect change to bring joy. Expect change to allow you to walk in your purpose. Expect change to allow you to find out what your gift is. You may not even know what your gift is. I know I didn't know what my gift was then, but now I'm coming back into it and finding my voice again regarding it, because at the end of the day, I lost my voice back then. 7 years ago, I was voiceless. 7 years ago, I didn't know who I was. I felt worthless. I felt like unseen, unheard. But there is a plan and a purpose over your life. And in order for you to really hone in on what it is, you need to, number one, accept change. Go back and watch my other video about self-reflection, because self-reflection is super important in digging deep into your identity. And once you find out who you are and why God sent you back here, your life will never be the same. Your life will never be the same, because we were all planted with seeds in us, and seeds were created to produce fruit. We were created to produce fruit. And if you don't know how it works when it comes to a seed, a flower can't grow without it being cultivated. A flower can't grow, or a tree can't grow without it being watered and nurtured in the sunlight. We have to learn to cultivate the seed. If we're not cultivating the seed, then what are we doing? What are we doing? Because what happened with me, a seed was planted, God was birthing something, but the seed, the plant that was growing, it died because I wasn't watering it properly. It wasn't getting the right nutrients. It wasn't getting the right sunlight. It wasn't being poured into for it to grow, blossom into what it was supposed to. I allowed the enemy to come in and attack what God was doing in my life. And I have to be accountable to that. I pray that this helps. And I pray that, if any of this message, resonated with you, leave a comment, like it, share it with a friend, someone who may be going through something similar. Let me know your thoughts if you've been through the same experience. I want to hear from you as well, because you don't have to go through it alone. I know that was a number one thing for me then, is I felt like I had to go through it all by myself. I felt like I always had to do it alone, and that's not the case. That's not the case. And for some of us, we may not have that support system, but we do have someone that's always there, and that is God. He is always there. But if we don't have that relationship with him, if we don't build that relationship with him and, create that space to allow God's presence to be in our presence, then what are we doing? That's all, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. And remember, be blessed. And until next week, God bless. Bye, beautiful.